All right. Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to our Algolia live coding session for July 2023. We didn't have one in June because we were having our developer conference. Hopefully you were able to attend for that. Had a lot of great sessions. So it's been a minute since we've been on here. I'm glad to be back. Glad to have you here. I see we've got some folks from all over the place chiming in on chat. Ohio is well represented there. That's excellent. Today, we're going to be doing a session for our mobile friends. So today, we're going to be talking about adding search to a Stream-powered Twitter clone. And if you don't know Stream, you're going to be finding out a little bit more about it very soon. If you don't know me, my name is Chuck Meyer. I'm a senior developer advocate here at Algolia. And I'm going to be joined today on the live stream by Stefan Bloss. Stefan, hey Stefan, he's an iOS developer advocate at Stream. So Stefan's very passionate about mobile development and particularly, I think Swift, right, is kind of your language of choice. So
that's true, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. If you don't know Algolia, we provide a set of hosted APIs that empower developers to quickly build search and discovery experiences into your web and mobile applications. So that's kind of our bread and butter. And Stefan, why don't I give you a minute to talk a little bit about Stream and what Stream does?
Sure, thank you. So at Stream, we want to enable you to build certain things as fast as possible. So we offer SDKs for chat, for feeds, as you will see today. And we also recently launched SDKs for audio and video communication. So the goal from us is to enable you to build things as fast as possible and don't have to deal with all the complexity that comes with it. So we want to make it easy for you and allow you to build things such as a Twitter clone in less time and with less stress. So that's what we do. And
boy, that sounds very familiar.
Oh,
definitely
yes,
a lot in common there.
That's very true. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent, excellent. And that's, not to steal any thunder here, but that's one of the reasons that I was really kind of intrigued by the whole kind of Twitter clone project that you've all put together at Stream, because it really is focused on sort of taking these sort of best-in-class components and stitching them all together into something, larger and more powerful.
I completely agree. And I think like that's also like the power of like modern technology, that it enables few developers or small teams to build great things with the help of tools such as Algolia, such as Stream, such as other ones. There are great ones out there. But it really enables us to not reinvent the wheel from the ground up every time we do something, but to make use of the great things that great engineers have built so far.
Right on, right on. So we're going to get to the coding here in just a second. But before we do, just kind of a little bit of housekeeping. We are live, which means please feel free, ask questions, engage with us on chat. Our wonderful producer, Julie, is over there chatting with folks already. I'll be trying to keep an eye on the chat as well as we go. We'll keep a little time at the end for questions, but we'll also try and answer questions as we go if it makes sense to do it within the context of our coding. So without further ado, I'm going to drop the slides and let you go ahead and jump into it, Stefan.
Perfect. I have started sharing, so you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, I do.
Perfect. All right. So like I pulled up the website we built for the Twitter clone project that we have. It's just like a quick overview. So you see, like, our idea was, hey, you can build Twitter in a weekend, and that actually has nothing to do with any form of criticism that we need an alternative to Twitter. Of course not. But yeah, we wanted to basically explore like how easy it is to build something as a small team with the help of great tools such as Algolia, such as Stream feeds like RevenueCat and others. So basically, we want to see how far we can get standing on the shoulders of giants there. And this is the project. So like we documented this very well, so you can read about this quite a bit. And the cool thing is it's completely open source, right? So like if you have a look, there's the project is on GitHub. It's public. Everything is documented there. We have a lot of explanation for this, so you can see all of this in action and can build it for yourself and see what we did there, right?
Yeah, it
And
was really cool.
today,
I pulled down the repo right before, a couple days ago and loaded up into Xcode and was able to actually fire it up and use it. And it's very robust. It's multimedia. It's impressive, and you can get it running relatively quickly.
oh yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's good feedback, of course. That was the exact goal of it, to make it as easy as possible to get everybody running without the knowledge of frameworks too much. And we chose the Swift UI for that because, like you mentioned this, we enjoy the framework. It's really nice. Many of us have an iOS background, but the cool thing of it is that yes, it's on mobile, yes, it's on iOS, but you could also use any other platform for this. We're not using any specifics there. We're just using an API basically that communicates with our Feeds backend. And with that, it allows you to just use whatever you want. So if you're more into cross-platform development, so if you want to use Flutter, for example, and I know that Algolia, I think, has also a sweet spot with Flutter recently.
Yeah,
so
we just
if you
recently
want to use
released our Flutter helper. So we've actually seen like a huge kind of response to that within the Flutter community. So it's good to know that that's something that's supported as well.
Perfect, nice, yeah. And we also like Flutter quite a bit. So maybe the follow-up stream is already building up. No, but that makes it really easy to go to different platforms for that, right? So if you're a web developer, you can use all these services. You can always use the same technologies and just use it on the web. So I think it's a very powerful thing. And yes, we're doing it on mobile, but that doesn't mean that other platforms are not usable as well, right? So just wanted to get that out of the way. And is there any question from you, Chuck?
No, I said cool. And I think, obviously, like, we'd love to hear folks in the chat chime in if you're a Swiftie through and through, and this is where you're going to do all your work. That's awesome to know, but it'd be great to hear kind of what other platforms you're using, just to kind of help us understand like what kind of content to build in the future.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Like, we always love to see how to port this to other platforms and to support that as well. So always happy to hear that. All right, but like I've shown the repo now, right? And that's cool. But I think what would be even better is to look at the code, right? So I pulled up the project here. So this is Xcode now, right? We're in the IDE that Apple provides. So like 99% of development happens here. There's also a few alternatives, but they are less popular. But yeah, Xcode is the main thing to go. So you can see the project here. On the left, you see the project structure. We have been using a tool called Tourist, which is a really nice tool to manage large projects and manage dependencies there. So it's been really helpful for us because like we have this micro architecture of different services here. And it's been really a great experience, and it's helped us a lot to get things modular and separated out. Have you ever heard of Twist before, or have you used it?
So Twist, it was really the first time I'd ever heard of it was when I built this project, and it built very easily. When I've done iOS programming in the past, it's usually CocoaPods. I'm kind of old school. But Twist seems to go well beyond that as far as kind of what it can help you with. The format of the file that defines sort of like your project is very easy. I love that it generates your workspace files and everything for you. It was really kind of a cool thing to see. And just an aside, Dirk R, it's really funny that you brought up dark mode. We actually had a whole conversation about that right before we went live, and we decided to go with this because it was a little cleaner to see. So I think you're going to be stuck with bright mode today. So maybe just turn the brightness down on your screen a little bit, but that's good feedback for next time. Sorry about that. But anyway, back to
Yeah.
Toist. No, I thought it was kind of it was really that I think that was part of what made it so easy is I literally pulled down the repo. I did the Toist build, had to generate the workspace file, and then I was up and running in Xcode very quickly.
Yeah, it was a great help. It worked really well, and it does a few nice things. Like you mentioned a few of them already. I don't want to go into too much detail, but what I really like is it automatically gives you a dependency graph, which looks like this. So it's for this project, like it's getting complex, of course, but it really helps you to just get an overall view of the dependencies that you have. So yeah, so that's just that. So I wanted to just quickly run the project here. I guess this is a clean cloned project that that's basically what you get, right? And you see you can log in, you can create an account. Let me log in with one here. So you can see it loads up, and then we have our timeline here, or our feed, however you want to call it. That was the last tweet I sent. It might be related to this project here. You can scroll down. Like we have spaces support. So basically, you can have live conversations there. You can have chat. You can chat with other people. So there's also part of our SDK, right? So we of course built that in, so you can chat with them. And the cool thing is you can also search, right? So if you open up this search here, and I can search, for example, for a person, like I can see them. It's updating live. It's using the user base that we have on the clone there. So yeah, like you can search for anything basically, and this is exactly what we're going to build, right? So this is the Algolia part of it. We integrated Algolia there. It was very easy, but I'll get to that.
I'm looking forward to you saying more of that. That's for sure.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? No, but like, yeah, it's a great experience, and I'll show you how we did it, and basically we'll build up this screen, right? Okay, so while we have this project, I'll close this for now, because I think it's very nice, but it's probably a bit too much for the thing that we're aiming for here.
So this is the full end state project, right? This is reaching out to Algolia APIs for search. There's multimedia component to it. There's I think there's even like, isn't there like a billing and account component that you do in the final version?
Yep. So we also have Twitter Blue, basically Stream Blue, as we call it here, and yeah, you can do purchases and everything. So it's like it's a complex project. It's probably a bit too much for now. So I created a stripped down version of it. I'll run that as well, just so that we can see how this looks, right? And it's you can already see it's the modern version, right, because of naming conventions here. So like it's using currently like current naming for a project, and yeah, you have the same, like you have the feed here. It's using the same data as you see. Like this is the thing that we've had in the other project as well. So we're using the same database that's underlying here. And then for search, things are not that great yet, right? So we didn't add that yet. So we need to do this, and this is where we will start, right? And this is the project that we will work with for today.
Okay.
But before we start with coding, I think there's a few things that we need to prepare for this, right? Because integrating Algolia is a multi-step process, I would say. Like it's not only coding related, because of course you want to have some data that you can crawl, right, that you can search through. And I know there's different mechanisms, and I'll show them in a second. So I actually want to go there to the website to demonstrate how it's possible to do this.
I think that's a really interesting component too, right? Because what you bring to the table at Stream is sort of this wonderful way, this wonderful set of SDKs for sort of handling that state, right? And kind of all of those different kind of components that are coming in from this application. And then what Algolia is doing is we want you to have that lightning fast, hosted API based search experience. But in order for those two to meet, and I think you're getting there right now, you have to have an index. And there are just lots of different ways that folks that use Algolia get that data from their, what I call source of truth, whether it's a database or stream or whatever, to Algolia. So I'm curious to see what the patterns that you found are most useful are.
Yeah, so I think, like you already mentioned this, right? There's different possibilities to do this. And I think you can go from very simple approaches to more complex ones. And there's trade-offs as usual, right? But yeah, like if I look at the project now, you can already see, like, here's an index, right? This you can think of an index, and please correct me if I'm wrong, right? You're way better at this. So, like, you can think of an index like a database, right? It has records, it has events, and you can put data inside, and this data becomes searchable through some black magic that Algolia does, right?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we index it, so it's we could get into the details of how we do that, but what you end up with is a version of your data that is optimized for prefix-based search. So it's search as you type, typo tolerance, all of that stuff. That's kind of what we bring to the table.
And like I've tried implementing something like this myself, and there's quite a few downfalls that you don't think about when you start such a project. So I can definitely say it's an easy thing at first. Like you think, hey, what can be so hard, right? It's just a database. But then you have to jump through so many hoops there to get it just right, and to get it performant, and to get it updated, and everything. So I think, like, having this in a real-time way is tough to achieve. And like it's fascinating to see how fast Algolia keeps being at even high data streams. So yeah, I think there's definitely some magic involved there. Otherwise, I couldn't explain how this works.
Yeah, and fun fact, our kind of roots, our founders initially started looking to crack this lightning fast search for mobile applications. So mobile is kind of where it all began for us too. So it's kind of fun to be doing a mobile session today.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that. That's cool. Right. So, but if you look at this now, right, we can see on the dashboard here that you can add records, right? And there's different ways to do this. So you can, for example, upload a file. You can add them manually, add a connector, or use the API. And we're going to use the API here. I'll not do it live, but I'll show you our setup for this, which is live in action. So, but yeah, like you could also, if you want to have a quick start, you can also just upload a file and get started very easily, which makes it super nice to test things out, right? You can just dump your data in a file, to like a CSV file or something, upload it, and you're ready to go. And yeah, I really like this to make it easy to do this.
It's great for like staging and sandbox environments where you just want to get going and start building your front end.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so we've done it differently. We use a technique called webhooks, and I want to show you how basically we're doing this, right? So I'm pulling up our stream project here. So like this is the stream dashboard that you will see. And like this is a project that we have. You can have here chat messaging, you have activity feeds, and video and audio. So basically all our SDKs can be configured in that dashboard. And you can do different things there. You can explore the data, you can do other things. But like if we go to the overview here, you can already see you can get real-time updates. And for this, you can define webhooks, which is really nice, right? So for example, in here, we are configuring a webhook to be called every time a user event happens. So this means a user is created, a user is changed, a user is deleted. So every time this happens, we call the webhook to just let it know what happened with the accompanying data, which makes it perfect for the use case of updating our search database, because we want to be up to date, right? So whenever something happens, we want to update the indices, and that's basically perfect for this. So we have that for users, and then we have feed groups, which is basically the feed data that's happening. And if we go to user here, we have another webhook registered, which basically means every time the feed data changes, so every time a new tweet, whenever you, if you want to call it that, is happening, like we're also calling our backend, right? So we're calling this thing that we've deployed it on DigitalOcean, but you can go anywhere, right? There's no limits for this. So basically the flow is really simple, right? You don't have to do much yourself. You just say, hey, whenever the data changes, call this webhook. And of course, I want to show the webhook as well. And we have this as a public project as well. And basically adding the webhook and managing it to insert data into Algolia was fairly simple, right?
Yeah.
So this is the commit where we added this, and like we have like this is a project where we have like a very basic Node backend, and on this branch that we're at, like we have the integration for the Twitter clone and for Algolia specifically, right? So like there's a bunch of environment things happening, and then like for in addition to that, we add Algolia as a dependency. We do some token reading and some environment file extraction. And then what we do is we basically say, hey, we want to have the Algolia search client. We initialize the index with a name. So this would be the users, for example, the index name. And then for each of the body elements that we get, we just say, hey, get me this new item, and also the deleted items, of course, and just put it into the database, right? We create a new object and we save it in the index. So
I love this pattern. It's a classic pattern, right? I love that it's using webhooks. It makes so much sense for when you want real-time updates to your database. It's probably one of the two most popular patterns alongside, sort of batch-based schedule changes, which makes less sense for something that's sort of as timely as a Twitter clone. But this definitely, like, it shows the power of stitching together or sort of componentized, SaaS-based applications, because there's just a few lines of API call on our side. You've got the webhook kind of baked into your side, and we're just passing along JSON, right?
Yeah, and as you say, I think that's one of the beauties of having these services bundled together, because like building again, you can build that on your own, right? You can do that. It's not like magic that we're doing there, but like having it integrated together and being well tested, being functional, like this takes time, right? So okay, if you can have this out of the box, then I think it's a great advantage already, right?
Now, I will say, like, as a stretch goal for us, you mentioned when you were in our dashboard, there was sort of one of the options was that connectors, and the connectors are sort of, those are situations where someone has done this work for you, right? So we have integrations with some platforms where you can just select a connector and that code's already there to stitch together. It tends to be a lot of e-commerce platforms for Algolia, honestly, but that code is already done. So maybe a stretch goal for ourselves is in the future, we can talk about, what we could do to potentially turn this code into a connector for Stream. That would be kind of fun too.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, I mean, and that would also just leverage the powers, right? You have people building stuff already, and you want to leverage that, right? So I love the idea. We should definitely talk about this. I would very much look forward to this.
But I won't interrupt you. Let's keep the flow going here.
Yeah, no worries. And that's basically all it is, right? From a backend side. So basically every time the data changes, we will get an update to the database on Algolia. So that's the backend work that we need. So what we can now do is we can check, hey, Algolia has an API client for Swift, right? So we can install this, and I've already installed the Algolia client here. And of course, the other thing that we want to do is search, right? So we also want to have the dependency for the instant search package from Algolia. And maybe you can quickly at least mention what the instant search package is doing, or what like the product or the difference there is?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the front end, we have a number of different libraries available. We have API clients in a number of different languages, your classic JavaScript, Ruby, Python, and also for, the mobiles for Swift and for Kotlin. And those are like pure API clients. So that's actually allowing you to just call our API, do a search, receive results back in a way that, is aligns to our SLAs. So it has retry capabilities. It has good error handling. What Instant Search does is it goes a level above that. And our Instant Search libraries actually include a set of widgets that are common widgets that you would want for search, like a search box, like the ability to show results, or to have selectable filters, or to clear those filters. All of those things are sort of come as prepackaged widgets for whatever your framework of choice is. We have it for Swift, we have it for React, we have it for Vue. So it kind of gives you an even easier way to sort of just slot these components into your existing application.
I couldn't have said it better. And like, while you were explaining this, I was pulling that up already, right? So we have we're back in Xcode now in our IDE, and we want to now add these packages, right? And you can see you just add the GitHub link to the package, and Swift Package Manager, as it's called, is the dependency packaging service in Swift. So basically, earlier it's been CocoaPods, and Swift Package Manager is something that Apple supports heavily.
Oh, okay.
So it's a great tool. It's integrated very, very nicely. And you can also select the packages that you want to use, right? And I especially like the last one, and we'll get to that because this will give us some nice UI elements that we can use, which makes it even easier to use the product. And you can see your dependencies here. It's been very quick, right? So it's not a huge download. It's very lightweight, so it's very easy to add this.
So Franklin was asking what the difference between Instant Search and Instant Search Swift UI is. I don't know if you want to handle that or I can, but basically we built up our libraries in layers, right? So I think Stefan's going to get into it a little bit more, but UI takes you all the way to those like widgets that are actually represented on the front end. The Instant Search library is the backend component that sort of is stitching that between our API and those front end components.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better again. And actually, Stream uses a very similar approach. So we have, for Swift, we have 3 packages. We have Stream Chat, which is our low-level client. We have Stream Chat Swift UI and Stream Chat UI. So like basically we have UI kit packages and Swift UI. So the different UI paradigms that you can use, but you don't need to use them. You can just build it on your own with the low-level client, right? And this idea is just, hey, let's make it easy for everybody to allow to build something together. And if you want to use the pre-built UI components that we offer you, yes, you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah, we definitely have a large number of folks that like to build their own look and feel, but can use the wiring within the Instant Search library to sort of stitch all of that together. One little piece of housekeeping, it looks like the Zoom call that we're on right now defaulted to hosts and panelists for the chat. So if you want to make sure that everyone can see questions and things like that, just use that drop down and say everyone when you send it out. That way, just everyone gets to see the question you're asking. So back to it.
No worries. All right, so let me quickly guide you through the project. It's not much, right? I try to keep it as simple as possible. So basically, the starting point of an application here in Swift UI is this app file. It uses the main property wrapper, as it's called. So you can see, hey, you get started there. We open up a content view. This is our root UI element, and you can see it actually previewed here on the left, right? So this is how it looks like. We have we are showing a progress view first, so this little loading spinner, and we're trying to log in a user. This is hard-coded now because, keeping things simple. And once that's successful, we show this tab container view here. And this is what you're seeing. And just to show that as well. You see it here. It's the tab container view. It has two tabs. One is the feed that you can see here, and the other one is the search view, right? And you can even toggle between the two here, so you don't need to run your app. You see it directly in your editor, which is pretty
That's
cool,
nice,
I think.
yeah.
So it gives us a really nice way to quickly iterate, especially with UI. But yeah, like we've seen this, right? So I think the joke is dead now. So yeah, like it's it's not yet implemented, and we wanna do that now, right? So
I'm going to steal that rotation effect, though. That's a nice way to get a smooth animation.
yeah. But basically, I like to let me get rid of this for now. I like to structure the project as separation between logic and view code, right? So in the view model, I want to have all the logic that is required so that I can focus on view code in my view here. So I want to start with creating like a Swift file that will be the view model, right? And so I'll call this search view model, right? That's rather simple. And I've prepared a little bit of code snippets here so that you don't have to watch me type all the time, which can be boring. So I'm doing a bunch of imports here. And you see, like it's the baseline client. It has instant search and the Swift UI one, and also insights. We can talk about what insights are in a second. But basically, we have our object there, right? And we have some properties for this object. And this is where a few of the things that you mentioned already come in, but also this is some really nice helpers. And I'll try to quickly explain what each of that does. And please correct me, because I might say wrong things. You're way more wise in that regard than I am.
I'm here for you, Stefan.
That's good. That's great. So basically, the first thing is you have a searcher, right? This is, as the name suggests, right? This is doing the heavy lifting. It uses the searching under the hood. And then you have two other things, basically. The first is a search box interactor compared with the controller. And what the controller does is it gives you, so we'll use a search box for, well, doing search. And the controller is handling the interaction between the query that we're getting and the search happening under the hood, basically, right? So your face says I'm doing
you're doing great.
in explanation.
You're doing great.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, we've got these several layers, right? So you've got the UI component. There's the state of the component. There's the piece in the back end that's going to go make the API call and get the response, and we just need to make sure all of that's synchronized. So you're doing great.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and the hits, as you might think, right? That is just the hits that you're getting from the search. So basically, your search results. And you can already see we will be using users here. So we're searching for users. And that's the index that we're using for this, right? You can also use multiple indices very easily, actually. I was kind of surprised, like, that you can just use like a multi-index there, and it's and
so
that's it.
You can be searching across the users and the messages or tweets or posts or whatever we're calling them at the same time. And
that's pretty cool.
I should also emphasize that these components are optimized for type as you go search. That's kind of our bread and butter. So all of this is designed so that as you're typing letters, it is going out, making search requests. The hits are getting refined as each letter is kind of getting passed through.
We'll see that in a second, right? So all right. So basically we have this now. So we have our properties, but we need to initialize them properly. So this is the code for this. So if we first look at that, it's basically initialization code. So we're initializing the hits searcher here, so our main search object, with an app ID and an API key. I've defined these, so I don't want to show them here, but basically these are, you can get them from the dashboard, and then the name of the index that you want to search. So in our case, we want to use the users one. And then we register some insights and initialize the other the other properties. And the important thing is that we need to set up the connections between these elements now, right? So basically, we want to both have them connected to the searcher, right, which is the main search object, and then also to the hits and the search box interactor or the search box controller. So basically, this is just needed to glue everything together so that everything will communicate on their own and you won't have to do basically anything, right?
Creates that lovely feedback loop between the inputs from the user and the outputs from the API.
All right, and the last thing that we need here is we need some form of handling when someone types on search, like on submit my query. Like it will be live anyways, but still we need this in order to have it fully, right? And this is just the code for this, so you can just submit the query to the current controller, right? And you will see, like, we won't need this most of the time because, as Chuck already suggested, there's going to be live updates, so most of it is not needed, but still, like, it's there. All right, so with that, the logic part is already done, right? Which is kind of ridiculous because, like, we're at like 50 lines of code and that's all. So I was fascinated when I saw this first, like how few code this really needs, and the rest just happens. So we want to go to UI now, right? So and I'll close the sidebar here because we will stay in this file for a while. So again, what we need is we need some properties here, right? So let's look at the properties that we need. We will have the view model, right? So this is the thing that we just created. And then we need references to the search box, like the controller, because we want to get live updates of the view. And this is just needed to do this. So in order for this to compile, we need to import the SwiftUI portion of this. I think this should be enough. Yeah. All right. So we have this now, right? And we still need our initializer here for this so that we can get these objects initialized upon start. We need a user ID for this so that we know, like, this is used for the insights, so that we know who is using the search there and be getting insights into this. And the other code is just initialization of the properties that we just mentioned, right? It's no real magic happening here. So yeah, like this is it. This is the preparation we need to do, and I'll just delete this, and we don't need the view code here anymore because we will make whoever was mad at us happy now by building up the UI. All right, so in SwiftUI, there's a navigation pattern that often requires you to have a navigation view. This is just like the controller that's wrapped around this. And for this, we want a VStack inside of it. A VStack is just a vertical stack of elements that we will have there. We can align things to centered, leading, whatever we want. We can give some spacing so that each of the elements has some space between them, and then we can add content to that. Right, before we do this, we want to add a quick title here. So this is the power of the navigation view. Nice. If you have a navigation view, and you can embed one of the childs or the child here, and you can give it a title, and it will show up instantly. And if we want to build this, like, it won't build because we have our initializer, which wants to have a user ID. So for the preview, we can add this. It doesn't really matter for now. Nice. But then also in the tab view, where we want to initialize the tab, we also need to add the user ID, which luckily we get from our authenticated user. So we can just say auth user.user ID, right? And with this, our project should build already. Nice. So, and if we want to have the preview here, we can watch that build. And in the meantime, we can continue to fill it up, right? So as you can see, it's empty for now, but this is what it will look like. And now I want to come to the really cool part. And like, it's really easy to build that up. So like we're basically almost finished, right? But now the most important thing when searching is, as you might have guessed, a search bar, right?
Yep.
And now this is one of these elements that we were talking about that Algolia gives us for free, basically, right? It's called a search bar. Naming is pretty straightforward, as I would say. Now, the cool thing is that we can do with this search bar now is we can use the controller that we created and basically enter the query or say like the query of this search box controller will be the text of the search bar. The rest is just like, it's a property. We need this to say whether it's editing or not. And then the submit function that I just mentioned, right? This will be rarely called, but yeah, but you can already see like this piece of code does so much for us, right? Because this will automatically sync. Whenever you update the query, it will do the request, it will do the search, it will execute the search, and it will fill up the search results that we will see in a second, right? So let's build up the rest of the UI. So we can add a quick text.
Right? Yep, there it is.
To just say, hey, these are the amount of hits that we get, and it will already work, and it will even work inside of this preview here, right? So you can already see, like by default, it gives us 20. Like if we type something in, it will automatically update while we type, right? So this is pretty cool. But of course, like we don't want to know how many results we get. We want to see them. I hear you. So we can use the hits list element, which is another one that Algolia gives us to basically fill up the results view with the results that we're getting. And we're using the hits controller. So before it was the search box controller, right? And the hits controller now is doing the heavy lifting of giving us the results, right? Now this won't work because we have to define how we want to show our users. So let's create a new view for this. The cool thing is
this is templated. So we give you the ability to show the hits, but the shape of the hit is actually up to you to define because we don't know the data that's going to be inside those results.
Yeah, exactly. And so like this is the code that I'll use. As you mentioned, this is templated, right? So you can use whatever you want. And this is, I think, the cool thing of, hey, I can get basically everything that I can for free. And the SDK does all of this. But when I need to jump in, I can do it, right? And we're using very simple UI. I don't want to focus on that too much. It will look like this. But let's jump back because with this, we're basically done, right? So one nice side note is that you can even get a no results view that you can define. So I could, like the no results that are shown here, I can do fun things. I can change this and have it show. So but like if I jump in here now and I start typing, it won't work because I probably need to run the project.
Oh yeah.
So let's see. When I see it in the simulator here, everything's loading up, right? We see our project happening. We see the feed, and now we can switch to search. And while I click on it, we already see it will already execute a search for us. And if I start typing, the results will be updated in real time. We see the hits that have happened through the hits controller. And we can type out things. We can, I don't know, search for names. I, of course, searched for Chuck already.
Hello, I'm glad we're friends. That's excellent.
So yeah, but basically this is all, right? So
yeah,
this has been...
there's a lot of interesting things in there, right? So the no results thing, the first thing you'll probably notice if you're not an Algolia user in the past is it's a filtering search, right? So if Stefan doesn't have any query at all, then the default is to show everything. And then we sort of narrow down to the results that make the most sense based on the interaction that you're having with it. The results that you're getting, Stefan's just showing kind of like the usernames here, but it's a very robust result set. It includes that hit count, right? So we can very quickly show the number of results that are there. It also includes some snippeting and highlighting capabilities. So you could, if you use that, actually show like how what you typed is actually reflected in each of these records as they come up. There's a lot of kind of interesting things you can do there if we had more time.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? We're only scratching the surface here, right? You can do many more things. Like I already said this, you can combine different indices
Mm-hmm.
to have search across different types of data, right? So
Yeah.
we just used users here, but you could easily just combine this to have tweets, to have direct messages that you
Yep.
might have access to. Like there's a lot of things that you can do with it, and this has been the most basic one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like this has just been the start, right?
Well,
You
you've
can
got less
go
than
with
100 lines of code, so it's pretty impressive, actually.
yeah.
Franklin was asking, is there any way to start with to only display results after the user types? That's typically done, Franklin, in the UI. So you would wait until the query is populated with the value before you triggered the first search. But that's not something that the widgets themselves do for you. You would have to actually kind of like bake that into your front end. But it's definitely a pattern we see often.
And again, it's I think a nice way. And at a certain point, you probably have to like find a middle ground of
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is what we will give you, like from us that we think or that we hear is the most common use case.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's always important to keep things configurable so that you make I think I heard this somewhere, like to make easy things like fast. So right, you want to have the common things being implemented really fast, and you want to make complex things possible. So
Right.
you can always customize things towards what you need, and it's the same for our SDKs, right? So the Feeds SDK, the Chat SDK, you can get a lot out of the box for free.
Yeah.
And if you want to customize things, you can always do that, and that's the goal. I think that's probably like a shared one that most of the SDK makers want to achieve.
Absolutely. We want to get you up and running with the minimum viable as quickly as possible and allow you to iterate into the thing that you really want to build. I want to give you bonus points, speaking of value added, for including the Insights API and including usernames. For folks that don't know, so the Insights API is our analytics API. So what that actually allows you to do is send data back to Algolia about what searches were entered, what results were received, what was clicked on, so what the user actually engaged with. And that allows you to do all sorts of really sort of interesting advanced features around recommendations, around re-ranking. One cool thing about it is, Stefan was showing how like you can have like the no results. There's an opportunity there to show recommendations. So if you don't find the user you're looking for, we could go back and use those insights to maybe recommend a few users that we think would be close to what you'd be interested in, or tweets for that matter.
Yeah, sure. It's really like the most simple way of integrating Algolia, and we haven't even scratched the surface, right?
Mm-hmm. So we actually had someone ask a question over in the Q&A section, which I kind of forgot even existed. We've been getting so many good questions in chat. But this is around, Jake was asking, how does using Stream differentiate from using Firebase? So I guess, as mobile developers, we're all kind of used to having Firebase backends for state. So how do Stream and Firebase, how would they kind of engage with each other or differentiate from each other?
So it's an interesting question, and I've been asked this quite a few times, and I think people need to realize, or like I think it's two different products completely, right? So like Stream, we want to we want to basically give you as much as possible to make it really easy to integrate chat, feeds, audio, video, and soon like also other things into your project or into your product without doing much of your own, right? So you, of course, you need to always customize things, or if you want to, you can customize things, and there's going to be different requirements that require certain things to be done. But what Firebase does is like they have a much wider range of different products they're offering, and they're, I think, in many ways like more generic. So they enable you to do certain things really well. Like I've used Firebase a lot and it's great. But like if so probably you could build a chat, for example, with Firebase, right? You can do this and it will work. But I think it's just a different use case, because you would have to do way more work. You would have to think of way more things that a service like Stream just takes away from you and takes care for you.
Mm.
So like data syncing, like offline capabilities, and there's a lot of things that it's the same as I mentioned in the beginning with Algolia, right? Search sounds pretty straightforward in the beginning, but if you really try to do it well, there's a lot of pitfalls and there are a lot of complexities that come with it. And I think it's the same for the services that we at Stream offer. So I think it's just a different set of services that we offer compared to other tools such as Firebase or Superbase. I mean,
Right.
they do different things and they do it really well. And I like many of their services. So like they're great products. But I think it's just a different niche that the two services are trying to enter and to give you.
I think that's a great way of putting it. I mean, you mentioned earlier, Algolia, you can think of our indices as databases, but they're not databases. They I guess they are databases, but they are carefully tuned and sort of built for a specific use case, which is that type as you go search, and they're optimized for it. You could certainly do search using a relational database or even a GraphQL layer, but what we're trying to do is take some of that heavy lifting again off the plate. We do the typo tolerance, do all of the things that you don't have to do yourself, build those front end widgets. So it makes sense that you would kind of be in a similar position where you've got sort of these wonderfully optimized tools for developers.
Yeah.
Very
And I think
cool.
it's such a large space that
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine for different services and different types of applications to coexist there. So I think, yeah, like for certain use cases, it's great to use certain services, and for other use cases, it's just better. Like there's no generic solution that fits every use case perfectly.
Right on. I would definitely encourage people to go take a look at the full end-to-end client that is built. There's a lot of really kind of cool, clever things in there, a lot of great ideas for mobile development, for kind of using these different tools together. Would love to see what folks are doing with search for mobile, whether they're using SwiftUI or our Flutter helper or whatever other components, or, React Native even, like, very curious to see. There's still a lot of folks that are like, why do I need anything else? I have some reasons, but that's just my opinion personally. I'm not going to get into it here. But
That's
definitely
smart.
take a look at that. What else? Where would folks want to go next for Stream? I can say on the Algolia side, if you're not familiar already, you can build this yourself using our free tier. We have what we call our build account, which provides you with 1 million records and 10,000 requests a month for free. So that's a great place to get started on our side. What would you do on the Stream side?
Well, we have something very similar. We have a maker account, as it's called. You can get started for free. You can get access to the services that we're offering. You can play around with that. We offer like a ton of tutorials that if you want to follow them, like we offer SDKs for basically all the things you mentioned, right? We have iOS, we have Android, we have Flutter, we have React Native, we have React, we have Angular for many things. We have even Unity for chat, for example. So it's like a wide range of things that you can run our services on. And we've also recently launched a new service for audio and video SDKs, which is in beta right now. So like if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out always. We're always happy to hear from people and hear the use cases that they're trying to achieve or the things they're trying to build there. So always happy to try that out. And there's going to be a lot of interesting things coming out for that. So a lot of content, a lot of things to try out and to experiment with. And we're of course always trying to get better at everything. So yeah, like if somebody wants to try it, always feel free. Always happy to answer any questions when people want to reach out. And yeah, otherwise just try it and see what you want to achieve with that.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Franklin, who's been very active in our chat, mentions that they're using Firebase plus Stream plus Algolia. So definitely would love to see what you're building over there, Franklin. That sounds pretty cool. But thanks to everyone who's been active in our chat today, engaging with us. This has been a lot of fun. Again, like I haven't done mobile in a while, so I really appreciate kind of you giving me the excuse to kind of dig into this little stuff. And so thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome. Always happy to do that.
Excellent. Well, we've been trying to do these live coding sessions monthly. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be for August, but we'll have something together. And then, of course, in September, we'll be doing our Dev Bit, which is our sort of quarterly mini conference where we kind of announce new releases and kind of fun things that folks are doing in the community. So I don't think Stefan and I will have our stream connector ready by then, but we'll be trying maybe to put something together in the future. And you can look for that in our code exchange, which is where, kind of interesting projects like this tend to surface themselves. Anything else on your side, Stefan, before we let these fine folks go?
I don't think so. I want to say thank you for having me. I hope people have enjoyed this. And like I said, if somebody has more questions, always feel free to reach out. Probably the same for you, right?
Same goes for me.
Happy to chat.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.